Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 21. I'm Enigmius and today it's all about the capital vessel. We're looking at it right now. It's changed quite a bit since the last episode. We've been kind of revising things and adding things as we get an understanding of what is involved in this whole process of building a capital vessel. We're going to take a look at some of the details. The sun, unfortunately, is just going down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because for something this large, it's going to be a whole lot easier to go around and show what's happening with the drone anyways. But we're going to start with the lower stuff, so we're going to hustle on up here to get to that. We've got landing gears now, which don't attach to the ground like they do in some other games. They're just kind of there. And it makes it a little bit easier for us to have this thing landed on the wood as opposed to the ground over there, which in turn makes it easier to maneuver inside the ship, because if you're on anything other than level terrain, stairs don't necessarily work. Sometimes doors don't work. We don't have any doors in the ship yet, but the whole idea is it's better if it's level for getting around inside. We've closed the lower hull, basically, as part of the process of getting these landing gears in place. This section here that you see sticking down is actually the armor section that corresponds to the hardened combat steel blocks on the underside of the core of the ship. So we've got several layers of protection for that, and hopefully it kind of holds out, because otherwise we could be in trouble. And it comes basically right down flush with the landing gear, which doesn't seem to be a problem at this point yet. One of the biggest changes that we made since the last episode is we got rid of 2 of the large thrusters on each side of the ship. Now, these were responsible for providing lift for the ship, and we had plenty of lift, but what we didn't have was an abundance of power. So by removing those and switching things around a little bit, the space that they used to occupy is now occupied by regular thrusters for descent, so we can do controlled descent in space or in atmosphere, and maneuvering left and right. So far it seems to be working alright. We can afford to use some more left and right maneuvering thrusters, and eventually in the future maybe add some more of these guys, but they're small enough that we won't have to do a major retrofit to do it. We can just do it whenever we have the inkling to do so. And then around the back, we had this opening in the back that we were using to get into and outside of the ship, and the difficulty is that once we got the landing gears on, we ended up raising the ship a fair bit. This used to be the bottom of the ship right here, and it was pretty easy to get up in there. Never mind. What I was finding is that I could actually run, sprint, and jump from here, and if I did everything just right, I could still get into that little opening to get into the ship, but it was a hell of a lot easier if I just put in some elevator blocks, so now I can go down here and jump and crawl up and go in. That's the thing. We kept the 4 I guess forward motion thrusters, propulsion thrusters, whatever you want to call them. For now, if it comes down to a power issue again, we can take 2 of them, or we can disable 2 of them. Sometimes I feel like it's better to remove them, because then you can recycle the parts. We don't have a lot of the parts that we need to make these guys, but at the same time, once they're there and you know at some point you're going to want to use them, it almost feels like you're better off just kind of disabling them so that they no longer draw power when everything else is active. We'll see. We've got some options. Oh, and guns. You probably already saw the one on the other side already, but these are the minigun turrets as they look on a capital ship. I think they look absolutely badass. I really like the way they look. I haven't painted anything on the ship yet. These guys will probably end up painted black, like most of the guns that I've used so far. The idea here is that I wanted to be able to make use of these guns in atmosphere, but also have them available to defend the ship in space. So we've only got 3 of these guns. There's one on either side and one up top. I would have liked to have put one on the underside of the ship, because that would have given us excellent protection for enemies that are on the ground, but the ship is too low. It's too low. At some point in the future we might be able to add one for ground protection, but for now we can't make it fit. So this is what we've got. We can hop in these guys, we can manually control them. They've got a range of 1,000 meters, which is fantastic. There are other weapons available for capital ship, but I was very lucky to have read the tooltips for them before I built them and tried to attach them, but they only work in space. Like the rocket launchers, they work, I think both. Flak cannons, I think, only work in space. And what's the one that definitely only works in space? Plasma is one. It says right in the tooltip that you can mount it anywhere, you can mount it in atmosphere, but you can only actually use it in space. So that was kind of a thing that was good that we read. Because we're going to be heading to space sooner or later, but we don't want to necessarily be loading up our ship with things that we can't use right now. We don't have enough resources. So now that we've taken a fairly decent look at the bottom and the sides, we're going to hop in El Dronio. We're going to come up here and take a look. There's the third gun. Now I made some, oh, damn drone. Okay, we'll focus over here and then we'll relocate and then do the drone thing. This is the second level of the ship. And you can see it's got very busy with machines and such. We have a tier 2 constructor. We have all kinds of storage. We have refrigerators. We have a food preparation, a food processor, more containers on the other side. Basically anything that you could need to make something, we have now on board the ship, and we've got room to store a lot of it, which is very, very handy. We also have an oxygen station, so we can recharge our suit's oxygen, and lots of large oxygen tanks, so that we don't have to worry about shuttling the oxygen supply tanks to and from things all over the place all the time whenever we were reloading. So that's kind of a big deal. And then down here we've got the medic station, which also serves as a cloning base so that we can spawn here, restore our health here, do all kinds of fun stuff here. So that's good. And I'm basically stuffing containers wherever I can find room for them now. And then of course we've got stairs leading up to the next level, which is going to be something that we're going to be building elsewhere. A little bit of a secret, but we're gonna take a look at it. Now, if we're going to take a look at the front, we need to just kind of relocate the fleshy bits up here. And we switch to the drone. We can take a look at the detailing that we've done on the front. One of the things that I wanted to do was protect the front of the ship from enemy fire, because we've got the control station. Can we see it? Not especially well from here. But there is a control station in there, and if that gets destroyed, we can't really control the ship. There's also the core, which is not far from the control station. Generators, fuel tanks, and a little bit of ammunition storage all the way through here. So if we only had one pane of glass between the bad guys and there, we're just kind of asking for a disaster. So what I did was I built a secondary sort of hull around what we had on the front already, and all of this glass is armored glass, so it can sustain a bit more of a beating. It goes all the way around and underneath, so that we can kind of see things below us as we're flying around in atmosphere and different planets. It's, again, because the glass is kind of polarized or frosted, having the two layers makes it a little bit more difficult to see, but it's a trade-off, and I'm okay with that trade-off. Now we've got a little bit of glass on the sides as well. I got rid of a lot of the rounded blocks. You can see we've still got some up here. I like the rounded blocks, but unfortunately we're limited in the amount of detail that we can get out of the rounded blocks, even with the added shapes that we're given with this game compared to some others. So what I ended up doing, again here, this is the machine area that we were just looking at with the constructor and all the oxygen stuff. We've got a little bit of glass here so we can look outside when we're doing our stuff with the crafting, and it's all protected by hardened steel blocks all the way around, all angled instead of rounded, because it was easier to do interesting things with it. And of course the third gun. So been very busy sculpting, trying to get things to fit where we wanted them to, learning a little bit about how things work, learning how to set up groups manually so that we can control things, turn things on and off as it seems necessary. And now we can go inside and take a look at what we've done in the main area since the last episode, and that will bring us to our first expeditionary mission. I've been kind of waffling on the idea, I need to turn on my jetpack, of putting spotlights under here, but I don't even know if there's spotlights available for this guy. I haven't looked at the constructor sufficiently yet. Now this is the central area in behind the control area, and you can see we've got a lot more generators. We've got some ammunition containers, but I removed a bunch of ammunition containers from this area specifically so that we could add more generators and fuel tanks. We've got fuel tanks up here, generators, more fuel tanks, more generators. The core is down in here. The nose of this generator actually I think is sitting right on the core, and then here's the control station. So you can see we can see outside through the glass. You can see the water is down there, and unfortunately it's nighttime, so we can't really see what else we can see, but you get the idea. We still have visibility, but we also have a lot of extra protection, so I'm happy with the trade-off. There's also this thing about us using the third-person view when we're flying most ships anyways, so I don't really feel like we're losing much. We've got our RCS modules, so now what we need to be focusing on is we need more hardened steel if we're going to continue building as we've been building. This is all we've got left for hardened steel blocks. We need the plates so that we can make more hardened steel blocks, potentially more armored glass, some more combat steel blocks, and pretty much anything else I can imagine that we still want to put on. We've got lots of lights that we can place around. You can see the power is actually on in here, but we've set ourselves up so that we can turn the thrusters off, and that way we're only draining a trivial amount of power, which I definitely appreciate. So one thing that we have to do before we get going is we have to move some ammunition into these guys here. We need to make sure we've got enough fuel packs for our multi-tool, and then we're going to get going. We're going to head off and find a place to get ourselves some hardened steel plates. Okay, we're back. The sun is just coming up, which is kind of nice. You can see what I was talking about. It's still a little bit dark through the windows, but it's not bad. You can still see what's going on. I added some lights to the exterior of the ship. There's nothing special to go take a look at. I found out there really aren't no spotlights for capital ships, which is kind of odd to me, but we put some exterior, or they're classed as interior lights. We put them on the outside anyway. We fueled up the ship. All of our fuel tanks are absolutely full with the large Promethium fuel packs, and we're ready to go. We're going to take a look at where we're going. Here's our base. This is where we've been doing all the things. This is the capital ship right here, and we're heading down this way, all the way down this way to the abandoned mine, because everything in the abandoned mine, all of the structural blocks, when you remove them, they include hardened steel plates, which is what we really need. It's the thing that we have a lot of difficulty getting on Akua because there's no naturally existing resources that would provide it. The interesting thing that I just want to point out is we're going to trace back to the base, but if you follow the route that we're going to take, it's over a mountain, and then it's over a giant cluster of mountains, and there's really no easy way around to get past them if you wanted to. More mountains, and then you've got a big mountain here, and then it's kind of easy across the water to here. Real pain in the ass for a hover vessel. Not so much pain in the ass for a vessel that can fly over these things and then and land and just have a jolly good time, hopefully, of all the stuff. So you can see, actually we better ascend a bit here. Make sure that we've got thrusters turned on. Let's first of all see how much fuel we have, how long it'll last based on everything on. 35 minutes, that's not bad. 55% power usage. We were over 100% last episode before we got rid of those 4 large thrusters. It ascends very quickly, you can see. We're not really missing out on anything for having removed them. And all the tier 2 RCS units that we put into place are doing a pretty good job of helping us to turn. Like, this thing turns better than the hover vehicle that we've been puttering around in lately. So we get some altitude. We don't want to push our way straight into space, though it's not that far. See, now we're just over the power usage. We're at 107% because we're moving forward. That might suggest to us that we may at some point have to remove one of the reverse or one of the rear thrusters, but we're going to take our chances. Look at this, just flying directly over all the stuff. No mountain can hold us down. No mountain can fling us into the stratosphere. Just going exactly where we need to go 17.2 minutes of fuel when we're on the move. That's actually really awful. The amount of fuel that I had to put into those tanks to fill them up. I don't know how well you can see this, but we made it. We made it, and we parked on the flattened section of the mine. I actually cleared out a lot of stuff the last time we were here. Basically, the top level of the mine, I went around and I harvested a bunch of hardened steel plates from what was there, and it left us with a nearly flat surface, except for all the trees. So I came in and I landed right in the middle of all of it. And now we're going to go down and see just how bad of a job that I did. First of all, I'm stuck. I can't, just because of the angle we're on, I couldn't move. I'm going to come down here and we're going to take a look at, okay, so here's the wall. I left the wall to keep the bad guys out. And first thing I did when I come back is I fall off on the bad guy side of the wall. That sounds a lot like me. So, I think this tree here might be actually preventing us from landing. I didn't bring a chainsaw. What did I bring? I brought a pulse rifle. Can't get rid of it. Over here we've got other things. Did we even... We may actually be on the ground. No, we're not on the ground in the front. So we're basically suspended in midair with the thrusters off, which is kind of, if I can't be properly landed, that's the next best thing because it means we're not using fuel. We used a lot of fuel getting here. We used a lot of fuel dicking around outside, trying to create for ourselves a spot to land. And now that we're here, I think when the sun comes up, I will try and orient the ship diagonally so that it is properly landed on this flat platform here. In the meantime, since we've done this whole episode looking at a ship and then flying along basically a map and not actually done a whole lot super crazy interesting, let's head down and see if we can find that container. Okay, so this is the way down. And we don't need to go that way, but we can go this way. Nothing there. Go around this way. This was where the overseers were. And those guys just had no regard for anyone at all. I think this is it here. Yes, sir, it is. And before we... get... Oh, look at that. Ultra rare alien container with the epic sniper rifle. I mean, if I could pick and choose a weapon. 240 for the one that we already have, 240 damage, crit multiplier for headshots of 5 times, and 6 in the magazine. This one is 10 in the magazine, 350, same damage multiplier, and it fires a little bit faster. And reloads a little bit faster. We'll take it. We are certainly most pleased with that outcome. Why did it have to make all that noise? Angry at having to give up its loot? What's the deal? Alright, so the next episode, it may take 3-4 days to get out because I want to gather a bunch of materials. We're actually going to be continuing to expand on our capital vessel until I feel it's in a good spot to be leaving atmosphere. And along with that is going to be gathering all the materials that we're going to need to make sure that we can survive outside of atmosphere, like a ton more fuel, would be kind of a thing that we're going to want to focus on. We're going to bring a bunch of extra food, which is going to require some hunting of dinosaurs with our epic sniper rifle, and I think probably gathering a supply of other materials just so that we have them on hand. So it's not the kind of thing that we would necessarily make an episode over unless we did like a crazy montage, but we'll get it done. And then the next episode we're going to have more progress done on the capital ship, and we're going to be heading skyward. So if you want to be notified when we add that episode, the easiest way to do that, of course, is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.